London's Parliament Square is graced with a statue of Britain's most famous politician, and the ghosts of Winston Churchill, his legacy and beliefs, have very much been on people's minds in this extraordinary, contradictory week. When Parliament resumed, Prime Minister Boris Johnson, himself a biographer of Churchill, invoked the language and even the intonation of the wartime leader to suggest that the UK was somehow in a conflict with the European Union. He used the very same words about the EU that Churchill had done about Nazi Germany in 1940.
I will never surrender.
That sort of language comes from the playbook of Johnson's new Chief of Staff, Dominic Cummings, a Brexit ideologue behind the slogan, "Take back control." And Cummings, many believe, was also behind the brutal treatment of those Conservatives who could not accept Johnson's agenda.
Contrary to the Prime Minister's assertion.
One of those was Sir Nicholas Soames, a Conservative grandee, summarily sacked with 20 others for refusing to support Johnson's do-or-die approach to leaving the European Union. His speech after being told he was no longer welcome in Johnson's Conservative Party was extraordinary, not least because Johnson had sacked the grandson of Winston Churchill. Here they were together in 1954.
I'm truly very sad that it should end in this way, and it is my most fervent hope that this House will rediscover the spirit of compromise, humility and understanding that will enable us finally to push ahead with the vital work in the interests of the whole country.
Sitting in front of Soames was another Conservative rebel, Richard BENYON, who was also sacked. The next day he told me of his concerns about the direction the party he loved was being taken in.
The attitude of some of the people who are around the Prime Minister, not
Dominic Cummings, I suppose, people like that.
Yeah, yes. And, I think they have a big responsibility for the size of the rebellion last night. And some of the things that were said to colleagues of mine were extraordinary.
The generally held view is that the Johnson administration is now so terrified of Nigel Farage's Brexit party that despises the European Union that it will no longer brook any dissent. It was Farage whose status in British politics forced the Brexit referendum in the first place, and now it seems he is driving the Conservative Party to adopt his views. Consequently, today's Conservative Party finds itself at war with the European Union and with itself, its legacy and relationship with its most famous son. The irony isn't lost on anyone that after the Second World War, Churchill gave one of his most famous speeches in which he called for the creation of a United States of Europe, a continent working together, economically and socially, for the greater good. That phrase, United States of Europe, is used by Brexiters, including those inside the Johnson administration, as the biggest insult of all.
Stop the coup! Stop the coup!
The newfound love of the European Union from those terrified of Brexit has now forced Johnson into a corner and could easily lead to his resignation in the coming weeks. The Conservative Party has a lot of thinking to do. Laurence, Al Jazeera, London.